Hey, it's Veronica, the heart dietitian. Thanks for joining me today for a 1 hour meal prep. I wanted to show you how easy it is to incorporate meal prepping into your routine. This video is actually inspired by one of my clients I met this week. During our counseling sessions, we talked about incorporating meal prep to help the week go by smoother so that she can actually have accessible, heart-healthy meals to come home to after a busy work day. But what ended up happening was she was spending all day on Sunday in the kitchen. So instead of a 1 hour meal prep, it turned into a day meal prep, which led her exhausted, and she didn't really have any free time over the weekend to unwind or, incorporate any self-care. So I thought, why not show you how to incorporate a 1 hour meal prep that will cover 3 recipes that will promote your heart health, will lower your cholesterol, improve your blood pressure, and just show you how easy it can be, and it doesn't have to be extensive and exhausting or overwhelming.
So we're going to
So
start
come
off
join me
by
and let me know
chopping
what
the
you think in the
onion.
comments
So it
below.
doesn't have to be finely diced. Big chunks is fine because we're going to end up blending it into the soup anyways. Then we're going to cut the butternut squash for the soup. Again, big chunks is fine. You can peel your squash if you want. I don't, only because it adds more fiber and more nutrients. But if you don't like it, that's okay. Go ahead and peel it. I do remove all of the seeds because I don't think that tastes great in the soup. But again, your personal preference, no worries about that. So once you're done peeling the squash, next comes an apple. It can be any apple, but just choose one. Again, I keep the peel on because more fiber. You really don't taste any of the skin once the soup is blended and seasoned. After you're done chopping the apple, you're going to roast the butternut squash. So the butternut squash will be roasted in an oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and that will probably be in the oven for about 30 to 45 minutes. Once that's in the oven, then you can rinse a can of white navy beans. If you can find white navy beans or kidney beans that have low sodium or no salt added, please do that. If not, just go ahead and rinse those beans and they will be great to add to the soup. Now it's time to start cooking. So you can start by sauteing the onions, and then once that's done, you can start sauteing the apples. After the apples are sauteed, that's when you can throw in your roasted butternut squash. To throw in all the spices, what you can start with is sage. I used about a tablespoon of sage. Then you can add a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger to the mix. Saute it a little bit more. Then you can throw in your whole can of kidney beans. And I added water here, but you can add a low sodium vegetable stock if you choose. That's fine too. About 4 cups would go into the pot. Bring it to a boil, and then once it's boiled, you can start blending it. I use a hand immersion blender for this. It's pretty easy to maneuver, and it blends up really, really nicely. You can't taste the beans. You can't taste the skin on the squash. My kids love it. So I think it's a really great soup. Lots of cholesterol lowering beans and a lot of fiber and nutrients to help lower your cholesterol. So that's the butternut squash soup. The next meal prep item will be a pumpkin overnight oat. So this pumpkin overnight oat, they makes about 3 or 4 servings. So what I do is I make 4 on Sunday and then I heat them up throughout the week. But what you have to do is you stir in 1 cup of whole oats. Rolled oats are good for this. I like the high protein oats from Bob's Red Mills just to add a little bit more protein. Then you want to add 1 cup of pumpkin puree. You want it to be pumpkin puree and not pumpkin pie mix. So that's the difference. Make sure that the can says pumpkin puree. Then you'll add 1 tablespoon of chia seed, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin spice, and 1/4 cup of nuts. But this time I chose pumpkin seeds instead of nuts. Then you just mix it all together. I really like mixing it in this big bowl here. it gets really even consistency. And then from there, I can put it into my mason jars that will be used to store until I'm ready to eat it in the morning. I really love making overnight oats. It's a really quick breakfast to grab in the morning. It really starts my day off with some high protein, high fiber, lots of nutrients in there, and again, that taste of fall. So I hope you enjoyed as much as I do. Finally, the last recipe is the cottage cheese pancake with a twist. So we're going to be adding pumpkin puree to this as well. Can you guess that this is a fall theme? I was really feeling the pumpkin. So for the cottage cheese pancake, what you'll want to do is put in half a cup of cottage cheese, half a cup of pumpkin puree, and 2 large eggs into the blender and blend it together. Once you do that, then you'll want to take a separate bowl and you mix your whole wheat flour. All you need is about 1/4 of a cup, or I'm using almond flour. You add a 1/4 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, half a teaspoon of vanilla, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and then I measure out my chocolate chips, about 1/4 of a cup of that. You mix everything together and you put them on the stove just like you would any other pancake. Once they're ready to flip, you flip them, but before you flip them, I always add my chocolate chips. So instead of throwing all my chocolate chips into the pancake mix, I think it's best I place the chocolate chips on my pancakes so that it gets an even number of chocolate chips and my kids won't fight about one kid having more chocolate chips than the next. So there you have it. 3 really simple, easy, fall-inspired, cholesterol-lowering recipes. I honestly did this in 1 hour, so it can be as easy as that. You just want to make sure you have all the ingredients on hand and start with the cutting of the soup, all the veggies in the soup first, and the roasting of the squash. And then by the time the squash is done, you just throw everything together. The soup's ready, and you've already prepped your overnight oats as well as the cottage cheese pancakes. So if you like something like this, if you like this kind of a video, please let me know in the comments below.